In the year 2012, while completing a radio broadcast at a popular radio station in Kingston, Jamaica, I was told by the engineer that there is a lady at the gate of the radio station requesting to see me. It was now about 8:30 a.m. as I exited the broadcasting room, heading downstairs to enter the gate. I saw this lady with excitement waiting to meet me. She introduced herself as Marva. She said, "Sir, your broadcast this morning was so inspiring. I'm kindly asking you to baptize me right here and right now. I want to be a Christian." She then shared with me her testimony of being one of the baddest women in Jamaica who had done everything possible that the devil has to offer. I listened to her many of her stories and wondered how God kept this woman to be alive after being through all dangers and perils of this life. She then said to me, "It is only the grace of God why I am alive." Now, I was faced with a very challenging task. Never met her before, and a lady who is now requesting to be baptized. My friends and I spent maybe an hour or two with her, counseling her, talking with her, and praying with her. Then we told her there is no water to be baptized. She said, "Sir, there is a pipe right here, and there's a bucket over there." We filled the bucket with water that we found, and at 44 Bloomsbury Road that morning, we baptized Miss Marva right in the road. She was so excited, all wet like a chicken in the rain. The following week, in Riches of Northwest Clarendon, I was at church when Miss Marva turned up and requested to spend some time with me in the Word of God. I had Miss Marva for almost 2 weeks where we studied the Word of God and also gave her a fit and proper baptism at the Riches River in an area known as Liking Town. I later found out that Miss Marva was a very popular lady in Kingston who for over 30 years worked as a school warden, crossing the road with children every morning at a very popular Kingston school, and also was a gleaner vendor right there. Yes, not far from the doorways and entrance of the Gleaner Company. Not just that, but Miss Marva was one of the most well-known lady in the Mountain View area of Kingston. Because Miss Marva was a very popular lady, Miss Marva used her popularity to introduce me to many persons in the Kingston area. Persons from uptown, downtown, and all around Kingston and the St. Andrew area who would have known her, from lawyers to doctors to teachers, police officers, soldiers, men, women, boys and girls, young ladies, everyone, even the elderly, everyone that she came in contact with. She would have told so many persons about me, the ministry I do, and the many things I'm involved in. I remembered vividly meeting many of Ms. Marva's relatives. But one thing I will never forget about Miss Marva is I was preaching in a Kingston one day at a church and she was passing by and she heard my voice. And she came right in the church, sat down, and a few minutes after, she recognized she had to go. She walked straight up to where I was preaching from, gave me a hug in front of the congregation, and said, "God bless you," and went on her way. The congregation burst out into a loud laughter. Then I had to explain who this lovely woman was. Unfortunately, this past weekend, I was at the Caribbean Global Conference of Leaders and I met two wonderful elders of a popular church in the Mountain View area of Kingston, Jamaica. While we were there talking over lunch, one lady said to me, "You look so familiar, as if you came to our church before." After she named the church, I said, "Yes, ma'am." I had preached at that church at least 4 times, and I was introduced to your bishop who resides overseas by a lady known as Miss Marva. They sunk in deep quietness as they looked into each other's eyes, three persons who were close by, and said, "What a wonderful lady she was." Unfortunately, she passed away last year. Immediately, my heart also sunk not in despair, but in peace and tranquility, thanking God for the life of Miss Marva. In Jamaica, the saying is popular: you cannot always judge a book by its cover, and Miss Marva was one of those persons. Immediately, many of her stories are now coming back to my memory as I heard of her death, especially being caught by police officers in porous Jamaica, transporting large quantity of ganja, marijuana, and other drugs from the St. Elizabeth area. And when she was held by the police officers who had her under arrest to be taken to the police station, the police officers made one mistake, according to Miss Martha. They did not know that she was a very fast runner and a very swift lady. Miss Marva said she silently slipped away from the desk while the police were about to book her. Before even asking her a question, she was gone, like a flash of lightning through the streets of Poros. Neither cars nor feet of men dressed in blue and women could catch her. Old Porous Road was like a flat, plain field for Miss Marva. She said she crossed hills and valleys and even rivers and found herself in the Osborne Store area of Clarendon. Police traps were set everywhere for her, even in the Osborne Store area. But she was saved by a garbage truck. She saw an open back dump truck that stopped by the way to talk to someone. And like in the movies, she climbed up into the back of that dump truck of garbage. And oh, where the truck was going, she didn't care. But it was going to Kingston. And she ended up at the Kingston dump. And that's how Miss Marva escaped the traps of the police officers. She said never again had she got herself in devious crimes, but had been living a life that was God fearing and one that was transforming by doing something profitable with her life. She promised God if He would have saved her from that devious past as a young person, then the day will come when she would serve Him. And oh, that morning on that radio broadcast, many years after, was when she heard my voice and the word that God had given me that morning and gave her heart to the Lord. Miss Marva had had many challenges in life, but she made the wrong right when she became a school warden, speaking to children and parents, men, women, boys, and girls, encouraging them to do something profitable in life for those who seek an education or has the chance to get an education to get the best, because Miss Marva never get the best. For those who have the ability to get a skill or those who have the ability to go to university and college, do it while you can, because Miss Marva never been to university nor college. Miss Marva just know how to sell and buy and sell and make a little profit on anything she buy and sell, from which she cared for her family, not just her family, but also her community. Ms. Marva's testimony is one that touched many lives and a woman of inspiration she was to many. May her soul rest in peace and may her memories live on. And for the many people who know her, when they hear her name, it always brings a smile. What about you today, my friend? Whatever the challenges of life may be, there is hope. There is hope in King Jesus. There is hope in the Lord. You can do it. Just smile your way through.
You're listening to The Voice of Riches, brought to you by La Jamken Group of Companies, including Oxford Spring Healing Water, Flight Lando Express, AW Immigration Services. The Voice of Riches, your educational, motivational, inspirational program. Tune in and be blessed.